Doctor? Doctor, come quickly!
The calendar!
Hello everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the Advent Calendar for 2022. We're back with something that we teased in day 1. That was what we disallowed, apart from one thing that you said, that we disallowed from our day 1 from the top 30 scenes, and that is cliffhangers. We are going to do what I wanted to be top 30, but Callum insisted, top 10 cliffhangers in Doctor Who, because I don't think you, what was it, you weren't able to come up with enough ones you liked?
Yeah, because with cliffhangers, you have watched a lot more, as we've mentioned many times before, more Classic Who, and the thing with Classic Who is literally every episode pretty much is a cliffhanger. It has a cliffhanger pretty much. So it feels a bit too... Even if I had watched all Classic Who, it feels a bit... There's way too much. There's like way too much. And I'm probably going to get into that topic later, but little tease for my list. But yeah, I feel like top 10, I think that's suitable for the idea of cliffhangers, I think.
But you, it is anyway. It's very skewed. Like we talked about last time. We talked about last time about it being skewed because of my more knowledge, but it's even more skewed this time because of the difference of cliffhangers between what I've seen and what you've seen.
Classic Who. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot less to choose from than I do, which will make it interesting. But yes, cliffhangers can be a very important thing, a very impactful thing to utilize. Yes. I personally think that cliffhangers are far preferable over next time trailers. I think next time trailers are stupid and they should have never had them. I mean, maybe if it was between a season, I could understand it. But between episodes, I always prefer cliffhangers.
Russell did a lot. After there was a Christmas special, there'd always be a coming soon trailer.
Yeah,
giving bits and bobs of the.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that as long as it's not too spoilery.
Yeah, I think you get more range to that because you can show clips of just the whole season, but in like seconds. So that's a little bit more easier to wiggle around.
Yeah, plugs are in the description. Blah 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 blah. So, I have a top 10 list that was very difficult to make. I had to use Preference Revealer. I also have a lot of honorable mentions. I reckon this time round I might give my honorable mentions first. I'm just going to rattle them off. The ones that didn't make the list that I think are just great cliffhangers but were so close to making it but just didn't make it. The Daleks, The Dead Planet, Marco Polo, The Singing Sands, Planet A Giant's Dangerous Journey, The Dalek Invasion of Earthworld's End, The Crusade, The Wheel of Fortune, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, Priest of Death, The Ark, The Plague. That one was so close. The 10th Planet Part 4, again, very, very close. I feel like that one would make a lot of people's lists, actually, the 10th Planet Part 4. Obvious reasons, it's just so historically important, and also imagine watching it when it first aired, not knowing what the fuck was happening. Just seeing the regeneration with no explanation. Tomb of the Cybermen Part 2, Fury from the Deep Part 3, pretty much every cliffhanger from The Mind Robber, The Invasion Part 4, The Invasion Part 6, The War Games Part 9, Doctor Who and the Silurians Part 5, The Ambassadors of Death Part 2, another one that was very close, Inferno Part 3, Inferno Part 4, The Demons Part 1, The Time Monster Part 4, Carnival of Monsters Part 1, Carnival of Monsters Part 3, Invasion of the Dinosaurs Part 3, Genesis of the Daleks Part 1, another one that was very close. Not really a cliffhanger, more just like a historic moment, seeing the first Dalek being, put into action by Davros. Pyramids of Mars Part 1, The Seeds of Doom Part 2, The Deadly Assassin Part 1, The Deadly Assassin Part 2, The Face of Evil Part 1, The Face of Evil Part 3, Horror of Fang Rock Part 3, The Stones of Blood Part 3, Nightmare of Eden Part 2, The Leisure Hive Part 1, Warrior's Gate Part 3, The Keeper of Traken Part 4, Kinder Part 2, Earthshock Part 3, Mordred Undead Part 3, The Enlightenment Part 1, The Caves of Androzani Part 1, Vengeance on Varos Part 1, Mind Warp Part 4, Remembrance of the Daleks Part 1, The Impossible Planet, Daleks in Manhattan, Human Nature, The Sound of Drums, Turn Left, The End of Time Part 1, another one that was very close to being on the list. The Pandorica Opens, The Name of the Doctor, Dark Water, Under the Lake, Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, Oxygen, World Enough and Time, Project Lazarus Part 2, Scherzo Part 3, and Omega Part 3. Those are my honourable mentions. And all of them are brilliant. They're all incredible.
That was long.
hmm Yeah. Oh, I think because I just said a whole bunch of words, I think you should go with first with your number 10.
Okay, my number 10 of Doctor Who cliffhangers is Silence in the Library. Donna Noble has left the library. This is the one that this one, a lot of these have really good build up, and that's probably why most of them are on my list. This one, I think, with Silence in the Library being quite a slow burner, but really effective, to then build up to this moment when just before you see Donna teleport to the TARDIS, but some sort of glitch happens to her. But then everyone else in the story is on the run from the now dead Dave, I think the guy's name is? Or David, I can't remember. He's not other Dave, though. But yeah, he dies, and they're all running away. And then the Doctor sees one of those big statue things that have been throughout the story. Turns, and it's Donna. It's quite a, oh shit, this is actually really serious. I always love that moment. And Tennant sells it really, really, really well. And that's what Tennant always...
He's like, it's like
those kind of moments.
It's their performance. He's like, oh, Donna. You know that it's that whisper he does.
When Tennant, I don't think there is an actor who, when he's very quiet, is just so powerful in line delivery. Just there's something about Tennant.
It's probably because you don't get it too often.
No, you don't really.
He saves it for special moments.
It's never like as effective as when Tennant does it. I find with most actors, it's just something that Tennant is able to do, and it's brilliant. And the build up, the music swells and it swells, and you have Donna keep going. Donna Noble has left the library. Donna Noble has been saved, and it's so good, good. With the guy and with the fucking Vashinarada say, hey, who turned out the lights? All that piling on.
It's interesting. Stephen Moffat loves his repeated phrases in a lot of his stories. And in this one, you have two at the same time.
Yes. It's very, very, very good. Yeah, it's just because with Silence in the Library, like I said, it's one of the best slow burner episodes, you know? It's because most of it takes place in one room, and it's like a good half an hour of them just being inside and just talking about the planet, and we're getting cut between this mystery of this girl. Silence in the Library is so good. It's such a great slow burner, and then the crescendo at the end of it, which leads on to the second part.
Yeah,
I think this cliffhanger does an amazing job at. We now know the stakes. We now know what's at risk, and we now know what the threat is and how dangerous this is. It's a really effective cliffhanger. It really is. It's one of my number 10. It's one of my favourites. It's
absolutely
because I remember so well. I remember going out to just a random party when I was very young, and I think this episode was on the TV at the house it was on, and I remember watching it and just being like, oh, I'm just addicted to this. I'm just like, this is so good.
Oh yeah, I remember when it first aired. I vividly remember when it first aired. And what's great about it is that like the payoff to that cliffhanger is so creative as well. With what is actually happening to Donna in that moment is amazing.
Yeah.
Peak Stephen Moffat that story is.
The only criticism I have of this scene is that the CGI for Donna's face on the statue is pretty bad.
Well, to be fair, it's actually not CGI. It's actually her wearing that
but like
thing around her.
Oh no, yeah, I know that. But the sort of impositing of it being on the frame with Tennant touching the face, you can very much tell it's not real.
Yeah, it's definitely composited.
Yeah. But even then, like the weird, because I always assumed it was CGI. The face on the statue, I just assumed that because it looks so weirdly faded.
It's so funny though when you see her, when you see the shots that she did in front of the green screen. I can't stop laughing when I look at it. It's so funny. When she's just sitting there with her normal clothes on. She's got this big weird thing around her head.
Yeah, so strange, so strange. Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. It just doesn't. I think the makeup could have done a bit of a better job with fading it in because it doesn't look real, you know. I guess that's my only criticism of it. It doesn't look too real.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, fucking love this cliffhanger. It's great.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Great two-parter.
Very memorable. And the fact that the Doctor has to desert her as well, despite having seen her face on that
Oh
thing.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
My number 10 is a very controversial one in some respects, because it got Philip Hinchcliffe fired by Mary Whitehouse. It is The Deadly Assassin Part 3. And it is the cliffhanger where inside the Matrix, the assassin pushes the Fourth Doctor into the water and drowns him, and he appears to die. It's probably it's one of the most visually violent moments in the show. And I feel like almost the controversy surrounding it has actually only made it even better in the meta sense, because I think it's absolute bullshit that Philip Hinchcliffe got fired for this, because it's amazing drama. And it's a very, very, very tense moment in a very tense story. Full of great cliffhangers. I had part 1 and part 2's cliffhangers in my honorable mentions. This story, I mean, it's Robert Holmes, so it's not a surprise. But this story, like I said, with, in the top 30 scenes countdown we did for day 1, where I talked about Sirius' exit in the Hand of Fear and how that led on to this story, we see the Fourth Doctor by himself without a companion and having to be put in under the height of pressure to the point of life and death. And it is a trope in Classic Who to have cliffhangers where it teases that the Doctor is dead and he's not. But this is a story that finds a way to actually make it as violent as it would be if it was real. And yeah, I mean it is yes, it is a fight scene in a river, and the Doctor's head gets pushed underwater, and it's it's very, very striking to watch. I don't actually know what more to add, really, because I don't think there's much more to say. It's one you just have to see for yourself. I despise that Mary Whitehouse thought that it wasn't appropriate for children and fired one of the best showrunners ever. Fuck that. But Deadly Assassin is brilliant. Has great cliffhangers, and the part 3 cliffhanger is one of the best. Just like the whole performance as well from Tom, like when he's getting pushed under, it's just oh my god, oh my word, yeah, brilliant stuff.
My number 9 is The Pit Opens in the Impossible Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one in a very similar sense to the last one. Impossible Planet is a bit more. It's less of a slow burner than Silence in the Library, but it's still like really bloody effective, and it's a lot more like we're getting very clear hints throughout the story of this sort of powerful sort of devil figure infesting like characters like Toby and then killing some of the crew. This, like, with the pit actually opening, and you get that really, really good shot of when it's coming up, and you see both Ted and I can't remember the other woman's
Ida
name.
Scott, I think.
Ida. Yeah, I think it was like Ada or Ida. But,
the pit is open,
that shot,
and I am free.
Yeah, that shot is so good. I love that shot.
That's the first. That is the first cliffhanger I ever saw of the show. It's amazing.
It's a really good one because with the like voiceover with everybody in peril, like they're
because of the Ood as well. The Ood as well.
The Ood about to attack some of the crew, and then obviously, like I mentioned, the shot of the not actual devil coming up because they don't see anything, but that shot coming up, it's like
amazing. The cinematography is just
it's throughout that whole story, it's incredible.
Yeah,
really good stuff. And
it's like cinema.
The setting, the setting is just so good.
BBC television, I don't think so.
Yeah, this one I just think because the reason I put this one above Silence and Library, it's just I think everything's firing on all cylinders in this one. I think just the very like sadistic nature of it with the devil voiceover, it just hits different. It really does. It's just so effective, great delivery. It sounds so like, it just sounds like a devil. It really does, and it's so good. Yeah, I love this cliffhanger. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Yeah, Pit opens number 9. Excellent. Excellent cliffhanger.
I mean, that story just gets pretty much everything right on an aesthetic level.
Oh
just
yeah, it does everything it needs to do. The establishment of like the
incredibly
setting,
immersive.
great character development and establishment.
I mean, because we had,
involved.
spaceships and we had New Earth, but this is the first time we've properly been to deep space in the new series.
Oh yeah, deep
somewhere
space,
really,
the
really,
unknown.
really alien.
And it being very unknown, with all the questions that even the Doctor has. It's a really great situation for a story. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
And the cliffhanger's just on top of that. It's just, great cliffhanger and just greatly followed up. Great stuff. Love it. Love it.
I love how, some of the more harsher critics of the time were like, oh, Russell T Davies is turning this, this classic sci-fi show into a kitchen sink soap opera drama, all based on Earth. And then he just absolutely whacks them in the face with this story. Which is the complete and total opposite of that in every respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's my number 9.
Amazing stuff. Alright, my number 9, also from Series 2, is Army of Ghosts. This is a double whammy because you not only have all the ghosts turning into Cybermen, which is already, and you have that line from the Doctor, this is an invasion, this is a victory.
I love that line.
Yeah.
I love that line.
Yeah. And then
remember when Cybermen and also Daleks were really effective and
yeah.
what they were doing and
so it was already an amazing cliffhanger as it was with the ghost turning into Cybermen and saying that. And then he checks this little alert thing. It goes back to Rose and Mickey, the sphere opens and the fucking Daleks come out, despite the fact that we thought they were all destroyed at the end of Series 1.
My favourite line as well from that is the interaction between the Doctor and the leader Cybermen, and the Cybermen's just go, the sphere is not ours, and they just explain it. The Doctor's like, what's the side? And then you got Jackie saying Rose is down there, and then we get the reveal.
Yeah, and Mickey trying to be vindictive, trying to show off to Rose that he's like, I don't need you, I'm better without you. And he's going to shoot up the Cybermen that he's trained to.
Well, he's grown. He's grown a lot, clearly.
And then the Daleks come out.
Yeah.
Location acquired. Oh, amazing. I'll never, ever, 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 ever forget the day that I first saw that.
I've got it up now. I love the Russell, like Dalek lens. That sort of look, because I feel like in the last couple of years, especially during the Moffat era, it felt too clean, if you get what I mean. This one feels
it's real, like, grimy and organic and fleshy.
This feels like...
Well, the best thing about the RTD Daleks is
lens.
you felt like they were really looking at you, especially in Series 1.
Yep. Oh, yeah. There's great... Russell and the directors under that tenure, the direction for the Daleks, like POV, they really utilize like the sort of like visual of it, like with the zooms they have, and even just the silly faces. It feels more real. It looks more real, and it's a really effective way of
it's
really connecting
something
with
that
the Daleks.
I think in terms of best capturing a Dalek's like expression with its eye, there's two stories that do it best.
Yes.
Dalek is one of them, with Joe Ahern's direction. And then you've also got, in The Power of the Daleks, I know I haven't seen the original, but in the animation it's based on the original camera scripts. Christopher Barry's capturing the Daleks is very similar. When you see the eye retract in close-up shots, it's just amazing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Army of Ghosts. That cliffhanger is iconic, it's brilliant. It is... What it does is it says that the twist isn't Torchwood. The twist is what's inside Torchwood, and then the twist behind that is what's inside Torchwood.
Yes.
And then and in terms of payoffs, again, the Cult of Skaro. What a brilliant idea. What an amazing idea.
Oh yes. Brilliant idea.
Yeah. So damn good. Yeah.
I'm
number
just
9.
looking at I'm looking at resolution. Jesus, that dialogue lens is so shit. It's so bland.
Yeah.
There's like nothing to it at all.
But yeah. Not to get too distracted.
God.
Army of Ghosts, my number 9. Absolutely fucking deserving of that top 10 placement. That cliffhanger is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of and you're talking about slow burner episodes that build up to a cliffhanger, Army of Ghosts is one of those too. Has a lot of great exposition scenes in it that set you all up for Doomsday. It's just such a good episode. What's your number 9?
No, my number 8.
Oh, sorry, your number 8.
My number 8 is from The Sound of Drums to Toclafane Attack the Earth.
Oh, yes.
This one's good mainly because it's so nice to have the master be competent, you know? The master just completely wins. He wins pretty much in his world and sort of how it's told through direction and the dialogue and everything. The master won. Invaded Earth, killed 1/10 of the population, and he ruled Earth for a year, as we find out in the next story. It's just, yeah, I love it. I really do. Just everything about it, the craziness of it then getting really sadistic and very real, and then the shot of the master and the doctor as the master just sort of gloats. Tennant's face, even through that makeup, which is fucking really good makeup, by the way. I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And you get that shot of Martha when she sees all the Toclafane. She says, "I'm coming back," which is foreshadowing the last of the Time Lords. And then you get the absolutely brilliant monologue of, "And so it came to pass that the human race fell, and the earth was no more. And I looked down upon my new dominion as master of all, and I thought it good." I fucking love John Sim. He's so good. Such a good actor.
God, he's the best New Who master we've had, no doubt about it.
He's one of the most screen grabbing actors I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
he commands your attention.
His charisma and presence on screen. He doesn't, even when he does the sort of wacky master aspect of his character, it's great. But when he is quiet and when he is very foreboding and very sinister, it's so effective. It really is. And when he sort of gloats like this, like he does here, I've never really felt out of the 3 masters we've had in New Who any.
Well, technically we've had 4.
The other 2 just don't. Technically 4. Oh yeah, true. With Missy and Dewan's masters, it's just they don't have that same presence that Sim does with these kind of scenes. I never feel like Dewan is threatening at all.
Yeah, he's pathetic.
The scenes that when he's threatening, it comes across as really desperate and just cringy. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It never and that comes with the fact
some people
of the
try to
itself being
some people try to point to that scene
shit.
in Part 2 when Dewan is telling the doctor to kneel as being commanding.
That comes across as so cringy.
Yeah,
it really does. It does not feel effective in any way. It's mainly because of the character.
Yeah, as opposed to something as opposed to something like John Sim using his laser screwdriver to turn him to hundreds of years old.
Mm-hmm.
And just ragdolling him.
Older and
older and older.
Yeah, it's just that sort of presence he has, especially during this cliffhanger. I just feel like he's.
I also personally,
During that speech,
I love
yeah.
that bit a bit before the cliffhanger when he plays "Here Comes the Drums" as
Yep.
as the Tocklefane
Yeah.
massacre like millions of people.
Because he's mocking the Doctor. He's like celebrating the destruction and his rule over Earth. And it's just so good.
Yeah.
And just the cliffhanger and the speech itself is just so well delivered.
Yeah, I love how
Very good
patronizing
stuff.
John Sim is in his victory.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so. That's why, like, if this was Dewan, it would feel way too much. Even during when he gives a speech, it would feel like he's frothing at the mouth.
Also, for the Master, this is a breath of fresh air. Because something that what usually happened with the Master in Classic Who was that he always had these plans of what he wanted to do, and he'd get really close to getting there, but then he'd always be stopped before he got there. This is a story where he actually does get there.
Yeah, Russell gave us a competent master. He gave us a competent master.
Yeah. And
shame.
Yeah, he matches David Tennant's like screen grabbing energy very well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Honestly, I think John Sim is the most out of all the TV masters. I think he's the most underrated. I really think.
Well, by current fandom, yeah, but the general public absolutely loves John Sim. I can tell you that as for a fact. I know people who watch the show casually, and whenever the Master gets mentioned, they talk endlessly about John Sim from the RTD era.
Like Tennant, he was the perfect casting to go against Tennant as the Master. Yeah. I think Derek Jacobi would have done a great job. I really do. But I feel like there's something with Sim that their chemistry
I think with Derek Jacobi, I think it is more universal appeal with Derek Jacobi because I think he could work with any Doctor. Really.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Whereas with Sim, I think Sim is so specific to Tennant.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it just works.
Yeah.
And then when we get to End of Time with that scene, like I think we mentioned, and Day 1, just that scene between them at End of Time is just so good in Part 2 when it's so quiet. Yeah. But yeah, my number 8 cliffhanger is Sound of Drums. Love it.
Excellent.
Great stuff.
Right, my number 8 is from a missing episode, which is usually unexpected for a cliffhanger. But I remember where I was when I saw this. I didn't know it existed before, because usually, for a lot of these classic cliffhangers, I'd been spoiled for some of them. But this was a cliffhanger I did not know about until I saw it. It is The Faceless Ones Part 4. And unfortunately, to talk about it, I'm going to have to spoil it for you, but I don't think you'll mind. So, The Faceless Ones is a story that is primarily set at an airport. And there's a whole thing called Chameleon Airlines. The Chameleons are somewhat similar to the Zygons in that they take the form of humans. They are a slightly different concept, but they are similar. And there's a bunch of planes, taking off, and during this holiday where young students are going to go on holidays, right? Away from, I imagine, university, and then all these students are suddenly disappearing. And it's really strange. There's all this build up and mystery around it for 4 episodes. Like Ben and Polly go missing because they look young, right? So they look like they might be students. And they end up on, captured, and the Doctor and Jamie are trying to figure out what the fuck's happening. At the Part 4 cliffhanger, this is a 6-part story. At the Part 4 cliffhanger, the camera follows a plane taking off. And then it keeps on going up and up and up and up, out of the Earth's orbit and into space and into a spaceship. I remember when I first saw this, I was actually at the gym and I was on the treadmill. I was watching it on my phone. I legitimately stopped what I was doing when I saw it. I froze. I was so shocked at this reveal. That these planes, the reason why these people are going missing is because the planes are going to space. It's such a simple sci-fi thing that you'd think would be really stupid, but because of how the story builds up over 4 episodes to that one moment, it's unbelievable. And now the Faceless Ones has been animated, so you can see it in like a better reconstructed form. But yeah, just for the pure, I honestly think this might be the most shocked I've ever been at a cliffhanger ever watching the show. I genuinely had no idea that's what the twist was going to be. And for that alone, it deserves to be there. It's just like, how could a logical brain like mine calculate that it was going to go to fucking space? And that's where all the students are being kept, so that they can use them so that the chameleons can look like them and pretend to be those students and inhabit them. It's amazing. Such a great twist, cliffhanger. And it's been ruined for you and ruined for the viewers who haven't seen the story, but that's okay. That's okay.
It's alright.
Because if you see the cliffhanger now, you just be like, oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Anyway. The Faceless Ones Part 4 cliffhanger is just unfucking believable. Probably my favourite of 62, which is a high bar in terms of cliffhangers. There's a lot of them that I think are fantastic, but that one just blows my socks off. Yeah, and I don't think I have much more to say. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is Turn Left, Bad Wolf Returns.
That's that if you remember correctly, is Adam's favourite cliffhanger in the show.
It's a good one. It's a fucking good one. More for just the moment, because the first 4 series, but with Bad Wolf being such a big thing in the first, it just being a great arc. Just to hear the words Bad Wolf again and it signifying the Doctor realizing Rose is back and that something terrible is about to happen. Oh, what a moment that is. What a moment.
Yep. And you see it plastered on those posters and on the TARDIS and everything.
So good. The direction.
Again, this is one where I remember where I was when I saw it.
Like, this is classic Russell era direction, and sort of how it's all set up, and how it's all like executed in frame and in music. Oh, I love it. And it's like that from the start of the scene, just that slow build up of 10 trying to break it down and like really trying to figure. And it's like a journey with the Doctor in that moment of the beginning of the scene where he's just asking simple questions, and it's from the question he said, "What does she look like?" And it's like you can tell on his face, what he's thinking, why he's asking that question, and it's as soon as Donna says blonde, it just builds and it builds and it builds, and Tennant's facial expressions and delivery are just, exactly what he's thinking, exactly the conclusion he's coming to, and then the words "Bad Wolf" just set him off. And then you get the final line of just like, it's the end of the universe.
Yep.
I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourites. So good.
It's funny because you put the scene that comes right after that in your top 30 scenes, the Stolen Earth start, cold open.
Oh yeah, it's such a great. The cliffhanger to then the opening of the next episode is like.
Also, I love the whiplash of coming off that cliffhanger. They materialize back, and there's some guy doing his bends, and he's like, "What day is it today? Saturday. Yeah, I like Saturdays." It's just normal, and then they go back in the TARDIS and they come back, and the Earth's gone.
Yeah.
Russell T, man, what a legend.
Russell T. Yeah, I love this cliffhanger. It's iconic. It really is. It's one of the most iconic cliffhangers because it was really when Doctor Who was like, this is the most popular it's ever been in the most modern setting. Everyone remembers this. People who don't watch the show anymore but watched it during this time, they remember this scene. They remember this moment and what it all looked like, how it was done. It's just, you can't. It's just so good. I love it.
Oh yeah, the viewership figures for that cycle of episodes that happen from like Human Nature up to Journey's End, actually probably including up to like End of Time Part 2. The viewership figures for those episodes is just unreal.
Oh, it's incredible.
Peaking at Voyage of the Damned, which had like 13 million viewers.
What a time that was. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. Well, speaking of viewing figures, my number 7 comes from the story of Classic Who that has the highest viewing figures. It is City of Death Part 2. So, this is, again, one that's going to spoil the story for you, which, you know, is a shame, but I have to talk about it, because this is one of the most just unbelievably bollocking cliffhangers in the whole show. How the Doctor is in present day for the first 2 episodes, present day Paris, finds out that there's, not only has the Mona Lisa been stolen, but there's multiple of them in a closet somehow, and they're all real copies of Mona Lisa from different time periods. They're not fakes. And the villain, played by Julian Glover, Scarlett, is amazing. But the Doctor travels back in time to the time of Leonardo da Vinci to try and figure out what the fuck's going on. Because Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. He ends up locked and, you know, tied down to a chair. And in walks a character with the face of the same man from present day, played by Julian Glover. And he says, "And I wonder what you are doing here." Oh, it's just... I honestly, it's just such a brilliant use of time travel with a cliffhanger. Of like, just imagine, you see a guy in present day, you see a man, you go back in time, like hundreds of years ago, you get captured, and then you look around, and that same man is right there. It's just unbelievable. It's brilliant. It's so brilliant. And I've just spoiled it for you, which is going to be terrible when you watch it, because you'll already know it's coming.
Yeah, I'm going to know now.
Mm-hmm. But at the very least, you'll be able to understand why it was so surprising. Because it is, oh my god, it is a great cliffhanger. Holy shit. Also, Julian Glover's based not only in Doctor Who, but in everything else he's done. He's great in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. He's great in Harry Potter as Aragog, and he's great in Game of Thrones as Pycelle. And he's great in Star Wars as in The Empire Strikes Back. What's his name in that film?
I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah. He's one of the captains, I think. Anyway, City of Death Part 2's cliffhanger is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And that's all I've got to say. Is it your number 6 next?
Yes.
All
My
right.
number 6 is Earthshot Part 3, The Cybermen Arrive. Yeah, this one yeah. This one is just, I really love that final shot of you get the 3 like different shots but put in one frame of the Cybermen towards the camera. I love that shot. I really do. And just sort of the build up of it and the music. So bloody good. And I remember Part 3 being like another like slow burner, but we now know at that point the Cybermen are behind it. But then the reveal to the characters, especially the Doctor, in that moment, and Peter Davison sells it so well. It's just this story is so good.
It is the ultimate "you are fucked, Doctor" moment. And then it plays that brilliant theme for the Cybermen. The clanking metal and the stomping and the
yeah. Oh yeah, the music in this scene is bloody good. Like you see like shots of like Tegan hiding and like other bits of like the characters hiding and running away after like they step out of these like weird pod things. Yeah, and just the Cyberman just going like, I think it's my army awaits or something, and he's like, Doctor, and the shot of the Fifth Doctor in that bit is just so good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Bloody lovely stuff.
Oh yeah, so good. Yeah, and that basically turns it. That basically from there, part 4 becomes an absolute frenzy for 25 minutes. And it leads to the scene, the Adric's death scene, which I talked about in top 30 scene. Yeah, amazing stuff. Right, is it time for my number 6?
Your number 6 now.
And number 6, another spoiler for you, unfortunately, is Inferno Part 6.
Spoilers.
I'll try not to spoil too many details if I can help it. Inferno is a 7-parter, so this is right before the final episode. But as you may know, Inferno is a parallel universe story. And Part 6 is the entire episode is just absolutely butt-clenching tension as the parallel Earth has now, the inner core of the Earth has now been unleashed. And everything is burning and dying. And the Doctor has to run to the TARDIS console to try and escape and get back to our universe to save them from the same thing happening with the same drilling project. And basically, this cliffhanger, you see the Earth turn to lava. And I remember when I rewatched this on my channel, a while back when I was doing the rewatches. I did that big season 7 marathon. And after this part 6 cliffhanger, I just had to let out a huge breath. Inferno Part 6 is the most tense episode of Doctor Who I think ever made, possibly. It's unbelievably tense. Just the entire thing is edge of your seat stuff. And you just see all of Unit's parallel equivalents perish with the brigade leader and Benton and all the scientists and parallel Liz Shaw. The Doctor just has to get the fuck out of there. It's unbelievable TV. And just seeing the Earth turn to lava is just amazing. What a cliffhanger. Unreal. Oh my god. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that, because if I say anything more, it's going to ruin the story for you. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is one you've already mentioned. It is the Daleks' return in Army of Ghosts. Yeah, like we mentioned before, this one is just... Yeah, it's really great. My specific favourite part, like I mentioned, is the interaction between the Doctor and the Cybermen, talking about the sphere, and then when it cuts to the sphere and the Daleks come out, just that singular moment of, oh shit, it's great. It's so good. And like we mentioned, I just love that shot of whenever we see the Daleks POV in the Russell era. One of my favourite shots that Russell and the directors do. I just love it. Yeah, I love this cliffhanger a lot. Because Army of Ghosts is a really... with Science in the Library and Impossible Planet, they're really great slow burner stories. Like these singular episodes, part 1s, where it's a slow burner. It's
something we haven't had in a very long time, honestly.
Torchwood. Yeah, exactly. There's so much...
Because not only do we not really get that many 2-parters anymore, but like Chibnall and Moffat, they had this addiction to doing these fast-paced stories, or either fast-paced, or they'll do a 2-parter where the location changes halfway through. Stephen Moffat loves doing that. We hardly ever get stories like this anymore that Russell did. As
good as a slow burner something like Wild Enough in Time is, it doesn't feel like the next episode is a true continuation of that in a sense, because it feels very different in tone and style and how it's directed, and obviously the location being a massive part of that. with stuff like what Russell does in his era and all his two-parters and his big two-parters as well, it still is one whole story, despite being two different episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think
Russell actually
Yeah.
actually uses the format in the same way that classic Doctor Who does.
Yeah,
with its
because with
90
Moffat,
minutes.
he used the same format, but he never felt like he understood the strengths of doing this kind of format, or at least trying to do it, but never really executing it in the same way Russell did.
Yeah.
Because like every two-parter that Russell did, it's still pretty much one big story. It's one big hour-and-a-half story.
Yeah.
And it's a natural continuation with each one. Despite, even if the quality isn't always there, it is still one big story. Russell gives himself time to tell a full-on story. And part 1 is normally the slow burner, bar probably like series 4. And to an extent 3, but even then, there's still a lot more building in that compared to what Moffat and especially Chibnall have done in their seasons. I just don't think no one other than Russell has done it as effectively.
At least not on New Who, no.
Yep. Yeah, I think Russell. Yeah, his two-part finales always they're big and bombastic, but he gives himself time to tell the story.
Yeah. I really, I'm sure he will, but I really hope he brings back multi-parters like this kind of thing.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
We literally have 26 years of these like 90-minute long stories, and it's a formula that works really well for this show.
Mm-hmm.
So to not have it at all recently is, especially since like 2012 to now, like the last 10 years, really annoying, because it's a great 90-minute Doctor Who can be amazing.
Yeah, you just because when you're doing these kind of sci-fi stories and they're big and they've got a bunch of different concepts that you want to bring
especially
together,
in like an unfamiliar
you need
location
to give yourself
as well.
somewhat a good amount of time. Like if you're gonna do these kind of stories that Chip will try to, you've got to give yourself time. If you want to do the one-off stories, then do one-off concepts. You know
it's why
you don't need a lot of time for.
It's why people like me and Dylan always get like really ticked off when people on Twitter like slag off the 6-parters and all that. And I'm just like, I'd way rather have that than the bloody Chris Chibnall 45 minutes of fucking hopping around different locations doing fuck all actually with it. Just being style of substance.
Because like with Chibnall, he doesn't use that time effectively, even if he does do those.
Yeah, he just puts stuff in it. He just puts stuff in it. You think about Flux, man? Oh my god, what a disaster. All the different things going on. It's just a mess.
Yeah. Remember when people were so hyped about being like, oh my god, it's going to be one story? And it really wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
And we called that, as soon as they announced that.
Yeah.
Like, we knew it wasn't going to be that. And it was even worse than we thought. Yeah. But back on topic, I love the Daleks' return in Army of Ghosts. I think it's really well done in every sector.
Yeah.
And just the final shot of them just going exterminate. Love it.
I love the fact that it's literally it's an interesting irony, because if the Daleks hadn't been there, the Cybermen would have won.
Yeah, they would have. It would have been over.
There would have been no way out.
Pretty much.
There's nothing the Doctor could have done, really, realistically.
But the reason why the Cybermen are there is due to the Daleks, so...
Yeah, it's an interesting cause and effect.
Connects. Really great connection and cause and effect.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, is it my number 5?
Number 5. Yes, it is. Your turn. Go.
My number 5 is from a story that you have mentioned already, but it's not the same cliffhanger. It is Earthshock Part 1.
So just a straight up reveal.
It is the best kept secret in all of Classic Who. It's one where you have to understand the context of when it aired. No one knew that the Cybermen were in this story. Not a single person outside of the people that were involved in making the episode knew that the Cybermen were going to be in this episode. This is one of John Nathan Turner's best accomplishments as a showrunner, is that he refused to have any promotion of the Cybermen for season 19 at all. There's like the closest thing you get is this a tiny bit of foreshadowing in Fort of Doomsday with the same, it's like a similar concept going on in that spaceship, but even then that's not really spoiling anything, because the Cybermen hadn't appeared since season 12, since Revenge of the Cybermen, which was Tom Baker's first season, which happened 8 years before, approximately. And just the whole of part 1, there is this mystery going. There's this, they're digging down these sort of dinosaur fossils under the ground, which is doing foreshadowing for the end of the story. These people are wondering what is going on down here. There's something very strange. There's this bomb as well, and you have these robots, these weird robots, and then you just see that from the point of view of that robot with the red vision, zooms in on the Doctor's face, and then it cuts to the Cybermen saying, "Destroy them! Destroy them at once!"
Yeah.
It's amazing. And again, no one knew it was going to be the Cybermen, and they hadn't appeared for so long as well. Because I know that Chris Chibnall likes to hide his twists, but he doesn't actually do good twists, so it's not even worth the secrecy that he has.
Never.
But this case here, Earthshock Part 1, John Nathan Turner hiding the Cybermen's return and then executing it as perfectly as he does, as, with Eric Sayward as writer and all that. It was all worth it. It was all absolutely worth it, because the surprise return of the Cybermen in Earthshock is perfect. And even watching it, knowing it's coming as well, the whole build-up with that music and the sound effects and the acting and everything and the direction, just spot on. Absolutely spot on reveal. I love it. Absolutely love that cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's a good one. Really bloody good one.
Yep. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Human Nature, John Smith's Ultimatum.
Your friend or your lover? Your choice.
Yeah, just that. It's literally just that. That's why I love it so much, because Human Nature is so good. Just that 2-part intended was just so bloody good. Yeah, I really, really like John Smith, like the character John Smith, a lot in the story. Just the slow build up of him just being a regular person in this time, with the other side of the actual show, like the Doctor Who side of it with Martha, and how that clashes. I absolutely love it. And then the build up to this ending with everything coming together and why they all come together, and it all being great cause and effect to get to this moment where two people are under they're about to probably die, and fucking gives them the choice: your friend or your lover, your choice. Which is a fucking great delivery, fantastic delivery. And Tennant's acting during it all, I absolutely love it. Tennant's ability we praise his acting all the time, but just I can't get over how good he is as John Smith. Just this completely different entity in a sense to the 10th Doctor, in his mannerisms. He still has those same kind of things, but you can tell they're two different people, the 10th Doctor and John Smith. And Tennant does a fantastic job with it, really does. And yeah, I just love everything about this cliffhanger, really do.
It's amazing and just great character work, really. The way it's able to use, I mean, it does have the physical ultimatum, life and death with a gun and all that, but the way it has built up these character dynamics over, with Martha it's the whole series, and with Joan it's over the last 45 minutes, which is just weird to me. It's insane how that episode is only 45 minutes and it feels like a whole film has passed by. And then the Family of Blood is the same thing. How many payoffs it does. It feels like the end of Return of the King or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing how much they can fit into that small length of time, it feels like. But yeah, no, that cliffhanger is awesome. And just there's so much going on there as well, because John Smith has no idea what the hell's going on. He doesn't know that he's the Doctor. So how does he respond? What is he supposed to do? Just the acting, the confused acting from Tennant is amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Harry Lloyd as Baines as well. What an actor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, like I said, delivery is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep, it's one of the best. Just a simple line of, yeah, your friend, your lover, your choice. Oh, such a great delivery, and Tennant's faces during that, just absolute peril, and it's so well done.
I would let his whole Dothraki tribe fuck you. All 20,000 men and their horses too, if that's what it took. I love Harry Lloyd. Oh man. Alright. Is it time for my number 4?
It is time for your number 4.
Oh boy, okay, we're getting to the big ones now. We're getting to the ones that are just out of this world. My number 4 is Bad Wolf. The Daleks threaten the Doctor with, Rose's life on the line. He's sitting there after everything he's just been through, seen her die and then not die. The reveal of the ships. You hear the Dalek theme. When they see through the TARDIS thing, that just the revealing of all the fake news and all the, security behind all the truth of what's actually going on outside the ship. And then he sees the spaceships and then they contact him. And you just see the anger in his eyes and the way he rolls his shoulders back. And also, this is one of those ones where, the direction and the music is on top form as well as the acting. And everything to do with the visual design. And here we go. Okay, so he's like, I will talk to the Doctor. And he's like, oh, will you? That's nice. Hello. Just the way he approaches it. Oh, really? Why is that then? We have your associate. You will obey or she will be exterminated. And you think it's like this is the big moment. And it's like he's in fear. But that moment when he just says no. And everyone just looks at him. And that Murray Gold music starts. Explain yourself. I said no. What is the meaning of this negative? It means no. But she will be destroyed. No. Because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rescue her. I'm going to save Rose Tyler from the middle of the Dalek fleet. And then I'm going to save the Earth. And then, just to finish off, I'm going to wipe every last stinking Dalek out of the sky. But you have no weapons, no defenses, no plan. Yeah. Doesn't that scare you to death? Rose? Yes, Doctor? I'm coming to get you. It's just... It doesn't get better than that. It's so good.
Nah, it doesn't.
Every line is brilliant. The whole delivery, the whole way the camera cuts between everyone. It's just unbeatable drama. For the cliffhanger to your first finale of the revival, it's kind of exactly what you want. And Christopher Eccleston pulls it off absolutely perfectly. And that leads brilliantly into the parting of the ways. Yeah, just love that moment.
100%.
So much. I'm coming to get you. What a moment. I just loved it. I loved it how he called their bluff. He knew that they wouldn't shoot her. Because he knew that they need him. They need his information. They were trying to trick him, and he just not only called it out logically, which was really smart, but also just the bravery of it as well. The absolute balls on the man. And you can totally believe that he went to war with these people, or I should say people, Daleks.
My number 3 is the wonderful Utopia. The Master steals the TARDIS. Number 3.
Yep.
Hey!
Yep.
We actually snapped for once.
We actually snapped.
That's crazy. Yes. Oh yeah, this is
we've already kind of talked about it in the top 30 scenes. So anyone who hasn't seen that, go check that out because we both talked about it there. But this extends now beyond just that scene of the Master's opening the pocket watch.
This is the Master. This is the Master regenerating and then stealing the TARDIS.
Yeah, amazing scene.
Yeah, just when the Master just goes like, "Now, Doctor, oh, new voice, hello, hello."
Yeah.
Oh, it's just fucking. John Sim comes out and he comes out with an absolute bang. As we
Use
talked
my
about earlier,
name.
Great presence, but he comes out and he just hits every cylinder in this this little 2-minute bit he has as an introduction, and he's so fucking good. End of the
Use my
universe.
name.
Have fun. Bye bye. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Love
Use
it.
my name, Master. I'm sorry. Tough. And that's great foreshadowing for the Waters of Mars, because when he says tough as the Time Lord Victorious as well.
Oh, nice link there. That's about it. Nice link
Yeah.
there.
Even before that, though, when the Doctor locks eyes with the Jacoby Master after he's just been shot by Chantho,
Oh, yeah.
and then he walks into the TARDIS, locks that door, and locked. Let me in. Let me in. If the Doctor
Doctor's
can be young
desperation is so good.
and strong, then so can I. The Master reborn.
And he just screams.
Yeah, just screams.
Oh, yeah. It's just
Amazing,
so fucking good.
absolutely amazing, and just that
Oh,
look.
no, you
that,
don't.
That final shot. Oh yeah, because he uses the sonic screwdriver to make sure that he can only go back to 2008 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or within like 18 months of it.
Yeah,
and that
18
final
month
shot.
window, yeah.
That final shot, the TARDIS is gone, the wind is blowing, and Tennant's just looking in despair at the up beyond the camera. Just unbelievable. Yeah. And man, it's such a shame that Jake left the channel when he did, because I was waiting for him to get to that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That
that'd have been so good.
That cliffhanger is just unbelievable.
So good. So good. Then obviously you got like Martha and Jack who are like trying to hold off like the fucking...
Doctor,
what are they
stop
fucking
it!
called? The future kind? Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't got much longer, Doctor! But he's just not listening to them because there's so much more important things happening in front of him. Yeah.
Ah, what a cliffhanger.
Alright, well, seeing as we snapped, I guess it's time for my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my number 2 is The Caves of Androzani Part 3. You already mentioned it in your top 30 scenes, kind of, but it's the crash landing. It's that whole build up to that crash landing, and then he turns to him and he says, "Oh yes, of course. So here we go." So they basically bring the Cunningham and they cut that door open. It's like, "Oh no, you want to get in there, Doctor?" And then they cut the middle door, and that'll do. Alright, Snoop, hands in the air, it's over here. Why? Because I'll kill you if you don't. Not a very persuasive argument, actually, Tots. Because I'm going to die soon anyway. Unless, of course... And then he's like holding it in because he's trying not to regenerate. I'll give you to a count of 3. Unless, of course, I can't find the antidote. I owe it to my friend. Because I got her into this. So you see, I'm not going to let you stop me now. And then the planet service fills the screen and the Doctor shuts his eyes. Oh, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, a lot of it has to do just like the whole build up from the whole story up to that moment. But it is that moment. That is the defining Fifth Doctor moment. You know?
Oh, it is. That's why I included it on my top 30 list scene, because it was more for the moment of his arc, just what it encapsulates about his entire run.
Yeah, everything from Castrovelva up to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that would agree it's the best cliffhanger in Classic Who, and I would too. I think it is. It's just so good. It's just, it doesn't get better than that. 1980s television, it's like something out of a blockbuster, award-winning film. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. But it's only my number 2. What is your number 2?
My number 2. I mean, it's probably, I would say, in terms of culture, the very peak of Doctor Who. And by that, you probably should guess what it is, but my number 2 is The Stolen Earth, the 10th Doctor begins to regenerate. The absolute shock of this episode being the to make you think that the 10th Doctor is actually regenerating when there's been no announcement, there's been nothing about him leaving the show at that point, nothing about a new Doctor coming in. The sheer shock of him getting shot by an actual Dalek. Ace on the aim, by the way, Daleks are normally pretty shit. And the actual thought of him changing mid-story, just out of nowhere, feels... It's something that that unfortunately has been lost within New Who. But to have this moment at this point...
it kind of started with
cliffhanger.
The Impossible Astronaut is when it started to go downhill with that.
Well, yeah, that's when it was used poorly. It was just used as a sort of plot device hype thing that didn't really mean anything. This actually had consequences, and this actually fed into their next story, despite him not actually changing.
Oh yeah, because the story can't resolve itself unless this moment happens.
That Dalek shooting him, is important. So thank God that Dalek was actually aiming properly.
Yeah, and thank God the Sycorax cut his hand off as well.
In a sword fight. Yeah, this moment is just... And even, like, just the whole story is, like, it is going at a pace of... Apart from a few scenes here and there, but this story is, like, 100 miles an hour, yet it's so well-paced.
It doesn't have the Chibnall issue of that, everything feeling, just so weirdly burnt. It's like when you throw something on the pan at high heat that's not supposed to be on the pan at high heat, and just constantly just chucking stuff. It has no real rhyme or reason or purpose, whereas this episode is all just... The pace of it is earned.
Oh yeah. Nothing, I think, in terms of, like, hype can beat this. I don't think anything in New Who is going to beat this in terms of hype. It's literally just a what a moment.
And it's not just it's not just that as well. It's also like, Sarah Jane stops her car and is about to get shot as well.
Yep.
That's another thing that's happening.
Yeah. And it being when Rose and Temp
what happens now?
Yeah.
When he's dying, he repairs himself, he changes. But you can't. I'm sorry. It's too late. I'm regenerating.
Yeah.
And I think
Imagine
it's appropriate...
if Chibnall did that scene, it'd be even more like him explaining what happens. Because I've been shot, it means I have no choice but to regenerate.
Yeah.
It'd be something like that, and it'd be really...
I think it's only appropriate that I talk about this scene because it's my number 1.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I've already talked about this on the channel before. It's no spoiler whatsoever. This is the best cliffhanger in Doctor Who for me. The absolute, utter shell shock of it. It's just unreal. And not only just the whole build up to it and the reunite, like they land on Earth, and he's like still asking Donna questions because of what happened at the end of Turn Left, and then Donna's like, "Why don't you ask yourself?" And then he turns around and he sees her, and then they're running towards each other, and he gets fucking shot. Oh, it's amazing. Oh. dragged to his TARDIS, then it starts to regenerate, and then it hits you with those big block letters "to be continued," and you have to wait a week to find out what happened.
So good. Just the sound effects for each word just going on screen. It's
absolute
so
water cooler chat right there. This cliffhanger, it's the same kind of like mainstream water cooler chat that, you know, Infinity War had after the snap. It's similar to that when it came out, and some people.
That's why when Infinity War came out, and a lot of people seem to could compare it to this, like there's kind of a reason for that. It's like it's very much the same in terms of like the
maybe not quite as globally, but in the countries where Doctor Who was big, like Britain and Australia and New Zealand at the time.
Oh, this was the biggest thing in Britain when this came out. This was the thing of the week.
Yeah, when the Stolen Earth came out and that cliffhanger happened, everyone was talking about it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable television. I can't speak highly of it enough. It's just... I don't know if this is ever going to get topped for me. I don't know if I'm ever going to... If there's ever... I mean, Russell T Davies, you know, years and years, episode 4, and it's episode 3, has some pretty awesome cliffhangers. I don't know if this is ever getting topped. The Stolen Earth cliffhanger is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's... Man, to have that feeling again would be great. Just even anything close to it. Just
well, for him to give us something this
yeah.
belting in his final series of his second run would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your number one?
You know, well, obviously our number 3 was the same with Utopia. Your number 2, I believe, was the Bad Wolf cliffhanger, wasn't it?
No, my number 2 was Caves Part 3.
Ah, it was. But my number 1, because I thought for a second it was 2. My number 1 is Bad Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
So it was close.
My number 4, I think, was Bad Wolf.
Yeah. Yes, my number 1, my favourite cliffhanger in terms of the... Because with Stolen Earth, it is the best in terms of hype. This, I feel like, is the best in terms of story. The best story-driven cliffhanger, for me, is Bad Wolf.
Mm.
And it's all to do with the Ninth Doctor. Just the Ninth Doctor just standing up against the Daleks after we know what he's like when Daleks are involved. To straight up just go, no. Just repeatedly saying no. It means no. And just like how he's gonna save Rose and everything. Oh, it's really the moment for the Ninth Doctor, I would say, in terms of his journey. He's like sort of with also Coward Any Day. These 2 moments, this cliffhanger and then that moment, I feel like are just like they really define the Ninth Doctor.
Really?
Like just in his whole.
It's amazing because originally, you know, the Bad Wolf Punning in the Ways finale wasn't going to be a regeneration story. It was never meant to be, and yet it has become one, and it has all the hallmarks of one.
Yeah, it feels like the perfect regeneration story.
Yeah, you haven't even mentioned the Have a Good Life scene either.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Oh, because I had that in my top 30 scenes. Just that moment too is just...
Yeah. It has all the hallmarks of a regeneration story, but it wasn't meant to be.
It really does. It's so strange how... Because, like, I imagine Russell wanted it to be a complete journey with this bit of the Ninth Doctor. Whether it was going to continue and be something to then develop on, I don't know. But
I mean, it's possible that
really
maybe he thought he was only getting this one series, and it wasn't going to get renewed.
Well, yeah, that he probably wanted to tell this one arc at least with it, and it's just it's the perfect...
It's also possible that because he chose to leave after the first block of filming, that he may have had time to rewrite the script to account for that, and added in these brilliant bits that made it even better.
Possibly, yeah. If that's the case, then yeah, he done a great job in turning it into like it feeling like the perfect ending for the Ninth Doctor, because every scene really feels like we're heading towards the end, and it really coming to a head of like how much he's changed since the start of the season.
It's also just unbelievable, it's not just the cliffhanger, that whole story, especially in part 2, when he's just standing there in front of a screen by himself, not acting against a person, and you feel everything of it. You feel every inch of emotion from him. In every scene he's in.
That's going through his head with every action he's taking, and you know why he's taking these actions. It's just based on all the build up to it.
And just even the visual of it, just seeing him in that like dark sort of neon set with that black jacket on and just staring right at you. It's just so amazing to watch.
No one can do a doctor like arc than Russell. He is to bring so much humanity to the alien character of the Doctor. I feel like it's an idea that needs a lot of care and thought put into it, and I think Russell, for both times he did it.
What he did with the 9th and 10th Doctors was extremely ballsy, and I expect the same from Ncuti Gatwa as well.
Yeah, I really do. I expect something we haven't seen, but it being so well justified and it being built over long-term storytelling.
What Stephen Moffat said at Oxford about Russell's return is he said he wouldn't have done it unless he knew he was going to scare the ever-living shit out of you. Because that's what he does. He makes TV that scares people in a good way.
And his attention to detail, his care for each event,
each little character as well.
Each Doctor. Yeah,
like exactly. You remember
reacts to everything.
We haven't mentioned this in a while, but Linda's death in The Parting of the Ways. That scene is just, oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's fucking. Just that scene is just so well.
And not
the
only
execution of that scene is perfect.
Like the whole thing of they're cutting through the door, and then she looks around, and then they silently say exterminate and blast the glass, and then the Doctor hears her scream, and you see that look on his face when he knows what's just happened.
Great. It's just great storytelling.
And that comes right after she heard a massacre down below as well. Oh, so good. Bring back death. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that Russell ended up on this list a few times. He knows how to do a great cliffhanger.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The Stolen Earth, Utopia, and Bad Wolf, though. Oh my god. Oh my god. And Army of Ghosts as well. That's it, really. That's it. It's him setting up his finale. That's what those 4 cliffhangers are, and that's why they're on both of our lists.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. So, anyway, in the comments, talk about your favourite cliffhangers. Talk about Death to the Daleks Part 3, Stop, Don't Move. Talk about Colony in Space, Part 1. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with, like, Classic Who. Because my issue with Classic Who's format, my one real issue with it, is it forces writers to always have a cliffhanger, and it's very... It can very much be an issue long term. The amount of cliffhangers you got.
Some of it can be a bit abrupt, sure, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's always. It takes a lot to come up with a cliffhanger for 6 times.
Unless
times that by like
unless
5.
it's a story like The Mind Robber or The Deadly Assassin, where literally every cliffhanger is one of the best in the show.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest issues with the Classic Who format is pretty much you have to think of cliffhangers every single episode.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the case of Androzani, right? Part 1 and Part 3 are incredible cliffhangers. So, the Doctor and Perry, the fake Doctor and Perry getting shot, and then the crash landing. But then the Part 2 cliffhanger is just the cave monster running at them.
Yeah, it's just sort of there.
Yeah. It's one of those scenes where, like, if there wasn't a cliffhanger there, it wouldn't feel wrong. You would just continue watching the scene happen, if you know what I mean. We'll see you all tomorrow for day 4. Bye-bye.
Bye.